Hey y'all, watch this. Today we're gonna boil some eggs, make hard boiled eggs. Here, hold my beer. Yeah, a lot of people say, "Hey, Chef Bago, what's the easiest way to make eggs that come out good? Boiled eggs, that is. Getting the shell off's a pain all the time. How do you make it work all the time? You turn on the water, you get your eggs in the pot that you're gonna cook, and you fill the pot up to the level of the eggs. And that's so you can get the highest concentration of vinegar in there. You don't want any extra water you don't need. But you want your eggs covered in the water so that they can soak in the vinegar water. And what you do is you soak them in the vinegar water for 20 minutes to a half hour or more. And then that vinegar softens the eggshell and makes it easier to get the shell off in the end. Let's see, is that one down there? Yeah, okay, so you get them all underwater with the least amount of water, so the less vinegar makes a higher concentration. Then you add some white cooking vinegar to it. And you use the cheap white cooking vinegar or cleaning vinegar you're just going to throw away at the end. So you don't need no fancy tasty vinegar or something like that. Just use the cheapest you got, and then you just go have a beer and wait a while. And then we'll come back to it after they've soaked. We got real distracted there. It's been about 45 minutes. Sitting in there vinegar water longer isn't going to be any problem at all. I ain't going to pickle the eggs or nothing. So what you want to do is take the eggs out, rinse them off so that your chemicals, the vinegar chemicals, not on there no more. And we put them over in a tray. And these eggs now are pretty close to room temperature. I like to store my eggs in the fridge. They stay fresher that way. But you should be eating them up relatively quick, so you want to store them in the fridge, you can get more of them when you're getting them. Now they're rinsing them off, setting them in a little tray so they can dry off. Some people will say, oh, dry them off with a towel and all, but nah. Oh, as you rinse them off, you're getting the chemical off there. You're going back in the water again anyway, so being dry ain't really important at all. And once you get them out of the vinegar water, then you dump the vinegar water out. Rinse your pot so it doesn't got no vinegar left in it. And dry this off because you don't want water underneath your pot when you throw it on the stove. So there's that. Then you start filling it up again. And this time you use baking soda. You put baking soda in the water. And again, just like with the vinegar, you don't want to overdo the water because you want the highest concentration for what you're spending money on. So for what baking soda you got, you just want it to cover the eggs. And the vinegar soaked into the shell and some into the membrane inside the shell. That's the important part. Let's see, turn that off because we don't want to overdo the water until we know exactly how much water we want. These things are a little bit slippery. So there you go, a few more, the last two. And then there's the water level we want to get. So yeah, just a little bit more water. Okay, then you let them set another 20 minutes to 45 minutes, whatever. But at least 20 minutes to let the baking soda water soak into the eggshells. And that'll give them like a slightly different electrical charge, the shell from the inside. And it'll also help soften up the shell. So just let that happen for a while and have a beer or whatever. And then we'll come back and play with them some more. Okay, we weren't so distracted this time. They've been in there about a half hour now. If your eggs are starting to float and all, that just means they're getting old. That's when you should boil them, rather than then they save a lot better. And also, if you're opening them up into the pan or into a bowl or something and the yolks are breaking, that's another sign that they're getting old. So you should use them up or boil them so they store longer, whatever. But go ahead and boil fresh eggs too, nothing wrong with that. So what we do next to get them out of this baking soda water, they're slippery like you got your fingers in chlorine or something. Okay, so this step we're just rinsing baking soda off the eggs. Like last step we rinsed the vinegar off the eggs. They're a little slippery, so be careful. And I like doing 2 at a time. I could probably do 2 hens at a time too, but that might be tricky. That'd take talent. Yeah, now boiling eggs is something they never taught at the cooking college, Jus de Paris. I guess they figured we were all supposed to have took that at the cooking high school, but I never went to a cooking high school. I just went to a regular high school, so I had to pretend I knew what they was talking about when they were talking about boiling the eggs or using, they never explained everything in detail, like exactly what the vinegar does inside, the science of all that, or what the baking soda is doing, but it just makes the eggs soft, or the shells, and it makes it so they'll peel better. Yeah, these things are slippery, so be careful. But now we got them all out and rinsed. Rinse the baking soda off of them. We dump the baking soda out. Rinse the baking soda out. Now, you don't want to get water underneath your pot or it'll burn on the stove and grow calcium crystals on the bottom of your pot, stuff like that. So you just fill up the pot. Now this step we want more water because we're going to be boiling it, and we want the more water we got, the bigger our thermal mass, so when we dump our eggs in there, it don't bring down the temperature so much. So using extra water is actually a good thing at this part of the process. So we fill up the pot and then put it on the stove, turn it up to high, and bring her up to a boil. You don't have to add nothing to the water, just do that and be cooking time. Yeah, you don't want to overfill it either, because then when you put the eggs in, it'll boil over if you get it too high with water and eggs combined. But you want to do more than just cover the eggs like you did in the last 2 steps. So right there is probably enough, because if we add the eggs to that, that'll get really full of pot. So this goes over the stove. Okay, now over at the stove, you turn it on high, bring it up to a boil as fast as you can, and then bring it back up to a boil as fast as you can when you add the eggs. But then there's one more thing to do over here. Okay, now I got this special little egg toy. If you look close, it's got a needle in there. When you poke it down, the needle comes up, so you poke a hole through the egg. So what you want to do, hear the crunch, that pokes a little hole in the egg, and that way when you drop the egg in the boiling water and the insides heat up and expand, they blow out the stuff out the hole you just poked in there with that needle, and then your eggshell don't break and your boiled egg keeps its shape. I like to poke the fat end of the egg. You can see one end's a little fatter, and then point it up just so it can't leak out. Boy, these things are slippery. Look at that. How do you even get that one out? Okay. Yeah, so you do the eggs, and this way they you got all pretty nice egg-shaped boiled eggs when you're done, instead of some cracked shells and then the guts leak out and get in a different shape, and then they ain't as pretty as they would be, if some of them anyway, if you didn't do this. So this helps make the egg stay pretty on the inside. Oh, what happened? What the? Did it break? Oh no, I put a hole in there. I didn't hear it. There we go. That's better. I like being able to hear it, because then you know it got done. And then we'll go back and look at the pot later when it starts coming to a boil, because you want it to be a good boil with all the thermal mass you can have in there. Yeah, we're doing a bunch of eggs, 30 of them today, all at once, because they're good snacks. And we can do other things with them. We might even have a video about that later. But there we go. Now we're waiting for the water to boil. Okay, now you can see it's getting little bitty bubbles on the bottom of the pot. And that's just because that part of the pot is hot enough to make the water start to evaporate. But all the rest of the water is kind of room temperature still. So those little bubbles coming up just mean the very bottom of the pot is starting to get warm. Okay, now you can see a lot more bubbles happening on the bottom, and they're starting to come up and circulate the water. And that water is just doing a waltz now. It's just kind of lazy still and all, and that's because the upper water is not boiling yet. Only the very bottom of the water is boiling. It's coming up and cooling off as it brings the cold on down. So this is beginning to boil, but it really ain't boiling, even though you can see it's boiling. Don't be fooled, it ain't ready yet. You want it to be boiling, you want the entire water in the pot to be boiling temperature. So only a little bit of the pot is boiling temperature right now, so we'll keep waiting until it's ready. Okay, now you can see it's boiling a lot more viciously. It's like quit doing the waltz and it's doing a tarantella now. That's what you want. Vigorous boiling, bubbling, lifting the water up at the surface. So all the water in the pot's hot now. So you take the eggs and you put them in. I like to give them a little spin. And these eggs, when you drop them in, they'll cool the water off. And you might even see some of the bubbles and stuff coming out of that hole we poked in there. Yeah, you can see some of the egg squirting out of some of them, even a little bit of the white. But you want to get these in as quick as you can, so see the bubbles coming out of that egg right there? That would blow the shell apart, and then you'd have a deformed boiled egg later. So yeah, you want to see little bubbles coming out of them. And you want to get them in as quick as possible, so the first one's in and the last one's in get the same amount of cooking time. Now we bring the pot back up to a boil. It's got that slow waltz boil again, so we want to bring it up to a fuller boil, and then we'll turn the stove off and wait. But right now we're just waiting for it to come up to another boil again. Okay, that looks like it's boiling good enough now, and the whole water's the same boiling temperature again. So now we just turn the power off to it and just let it cook on its residual heat. Let that simmer, and we wait 17 minutes, and then it's probably done just right. So this will be ready to pour out the hot water and hot eggs in 17 minutes. We'll come back a little bit later to get the next parts ready. Okay, now we're a few minutes away, like 5 or 7 minutes away from the eggs being ready. We get the next step ready. We got to get a colander to pour the hot water through, and you got to get cold water to stop the cooking process, cool down the eggs so you can handle them. So if you got an ice cube tray that's difficult to get all the ice out of, now's the perfect time to get all the ice out of it, because you want to make cold water, and you got to do this a little bit before the eggs are ready, so that the water gets a time to cool down, so that it's not just tap water temperature ice water that you're putting the eggs into, but you're actually putting them into ice water where some of the ice is already melted to make it cold. So there we are, ready for the eggs to be done. This is melting the ice and getting all the water in there cold, so it'll all be good and cold when we throw the eggs in it to stop the cooking and cool them off so we can handle them. So that's it for now, and it won't be long before we're playing with the eggs again on the pot, just sitting there in the heat from the water, finishing their cooking. Okay, now these guys have been sitting in the boiling hot water for 17 minutes. So you pour the hot water off through a colander. Yeah, we'll rinse the pot again just so it ain't so super hot. And what you want to do is rinse off the eggs too. This is not necessarily because they need rinsing, but it just helps cool them off. and doesn't use up all your ice water on boiling hot eggs. So there we go. And then we dump them into the ice water. Uh-oh, that's not full enough, so we can fill it up a little bit more. There we go. Now that'll stop the cooking, and it'll also make them cool enough so we can handle them. Now over here, whenever you use a colander, as soon as you're done with it, wash it. Because something about colanders is every second you wait just makes them harder and harder to clean. Everything sticks to them everywhere in those little holes and stuff. So as soon as you're done with it, it's the easiest time to wash it. So let's get her done. The easiest way is to wash the colander as soon as you're done using it. Yeah, of course, colander is just a bowl with holes in it. Okay, so now, time to see how it went. Bap the egg. Okay, there's a little membrane in there. You want to get through that. I find going lengthwise down the eggs a bit easier. Then you get through. You get a part where you can peel off big chunks. And with that vinegar and baking soda treatment, it should come off in big chunks. You throw that right back in there. See that little piece stuck to it? That'll rinse off in your ice water pot. So you just do this. Yeah, people say, well, that guy don't even know how to boil an egg. And it's, well, you know, boiling an egg, there's a lot more to it than a lot of people realize. If you're going to do it so it peels and all that and keeps its shape. And yeah, this one, let's see, I'm being too tender with it. I should just be vicious getting these shells off. But there you goes another one. Maybe bap it a little more. Yeah, so you just throw the eggs right back into that pot of ice water. No problem. It rinses the shells off, and it's real easy to tell which ones you peeled and which ones you haven't peeled, because the ones you haven't peeled still got the shell on them. How about that? So yeah, this is comes off fairly good and in big pieces. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Look how good that one came out. Now, you don't need to watch all of them getting peeled. You've seen how it's done. Now these guys are done. So what we'll do, see how good and done they are. Bring this on over. Cut it in half. And looky there, you got the yolk all done just right and everything. And these things are real, I like them with the honey mustard. There you go. Now all I just got to do is peel the rest and I can eat them all. How about that? And use them as other stuff. So there you go. Now that's a good video worth sharing.